wanted to ask you, I'll get into some specific criticisms, but what has the feedback in general been towards readers of your plays? I've noticed that actually some of them have helped you in pointing out some structural flaws that you later amended.
Well, only you and Shin, as far as I know, are reading all of them. I mean, Tom read a few. Alex isn't wanting to read them until he's finished with his book. Keith hasn't read any. Jessica has read 4 or 5 of them now. She, of course, doesn't like the female characters at all, generally.
Yes. Since you brought that up and exposed her, that's the criticism I want to relay to you. But Jess said that she didn't feel that you actually have a good grasp of female dialogue, in the sense that that the Valerie character sounds like a trucker character instead of an actual female character, although the Megan character she thought was well rendered. How do you respond to this criticism, besides some immature, boyish taunt towards her later on?
Well, I mean, Jessica doesn't work with the kinds of people. She didn't grow up with the kinds of people. I mean, a lot of these characters, especially like the Janie Fitz kind of character, are New York broads. They talk like New York broads. The Valerie character is a low-class New Englander. She's you know, what Jessica or anyone would call trailer trash, basically. And so they do talk. I mean, I work with people who you could call trailer trash. They don't talk like people who work in the sciences. They don't talk like people who work in the arts or the theaters or in academia. So it's a class thing. It's not a whatchamacall a sexual sex-based thing. It's a class-based thing. But you know, this Melissa Hardenberger character, for example, she's very prim and proper. She doesn't. I don't think she utters a single curse in the play. And you get. I mean, she's a perfectly rendered character. So I mean, you know, but you know.
She also said. She also said in regards to this that she doesn't think it's realistic that everyone, and I think that this is slightly mitigated by the metafictive aspects of the play. But as example, in a matter of propinquity, you have characters saying what a great guy Danny is, and Jess and the other female characters are always on about that. And she said that that's ridiculous, that people don't talk like that about one particular guy. They don't just worship him.
Well, number one, Danny Wagner.
By the metafictive aspect, or do you think that it's a different thing?
Well, Danny Wagner is the presumed author of these plays. In a couple of plays, he comes out and states them, and so that's a way to subtly get inside the head of the artist. But of course, there are plenty of people. I mean, Jesus Christ! I've talked to so many women over the years who go on and on about their boyfriends or their husbands or vice versa. Men who rave about their latest conquest or girlfriend or whatnot. So I mean, that's, I think, perfectly normal. But since Danny is the presumed author, Danny does share that trait in common with Manny Cole. The difference is Manny Cole is much more of a con artist. We saw Manny Cole progress from a little boy who seemed to not be cherubic, but to be kind of normal. And then we find out by the end of the quartet the real reason Danny wrote all of these books and whatnot. But so Danny Wagner has a bit of that aggrandizing self, but we see from the use of and this is one of the things, another reason why I use my own poems is Danny can back up his aggrandizements about his writing ability, at least, and we see through the plays. And we see through the plays mostly that Danny is a good character. He's a good guy. You know, most of these female characters, certainly the hung up on a dream one, with the gal who thought she was abducted by aliens, Danny was certainly the better possible prospect in her than the cheating guy. But you know, obviously it wouldn't have worked out with them. And we see in A Woman of No Consequence, very subtly, the Melissa character seems to get a little bit of crush on the Danny Wagner character or whatnot. Now, it's very subtly stated, because why would he be focusing on me? So you have to recognize that the character is metafictive, but it's also, I think, highly plausible that you're going to have some character that is, if they're writing about themselves, going to be making themselves a little bit better. If he didn't do that, it would not. It actually adds to the realism, I think, to have that happen. Just like it's more realistic to have Manny Cole not be a perfect 100% reliable narrator. Reliable narrators are often, I mean, they're just not generally as interesting as unreliable narrators. Even a character like Ishmael in Moby Dick is really an unreliable narrator because Ishmael doesn't narrate the sections of the book that are talking about the whaling industry. That's a godlike voice. Ishmael does narrate things, but we know that Ishmael has, for example, his own biases. For example, in the famous scene where he's in bed with, is it Tashtigo or the spear chucker from Polynesia, whichever character it is, I forget. But so we know he is not. Go ahead. You're saying something?
It's Queequeg.
Queequeg? Okay, Queequeg. Okay, yeah. I forget Tashtigo, Starbuck, Queequeg, whoever. So I think it makes it in a sense more realistic to have a character that's going to think positively of him or herself.
So you're saying that some of her experiences just aren't in line with the reality that you experienced. Do you think that should have any part of criticism? For instance, do you think that you just have more complex experiences that you can say that, oh yes, Ingmar Bergman characters, they're hyper-intellectual, but there's certainly characters that exist? Because I remember you talking about Long Island Republican types that you grew up with when you were a boy, and has that sort of just magnified your critical perspective?
I don't get the thread of the question. What can you rephrase it? I mean,
what I'm saying is that since some of your experiences is larger, is that allows you to identify with more characters? Whereas I think what you're saying with Jess is that hers have been smaller. You can't identify with these trailer trash types.
Well, yeah, I don't think, for example, Jessica could write something convincingly about modern politics. Her latest book that you read is about it's an offshoot of basically her going to a Catholic university, the University of Dayton, and some of that stuff, and her going on. But for example, if Jessica tried to do a subtle political comedy about the presidency of Donald Trump, well, she's not going to be able to do it because she's not someone who is someone who that appeals to. She doesn't have that's just outside of her métier. Whereas I could do, let's say, if I wanted to do a play about the Reagan administration and what a bastard he was, I could certainly do that, and I could write convincing characters who were Reaganites who believed that all the crap that they believed.